city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Back on this rap ish, I ain't even broke a sweat, homie, this practice. Pondering my next move, staring at my track list, hope I ain't missing my window. Praying like a Baptist, Seattle's own. Tired of this Game of Thrones. They made a list of the best rappers, and guess who wasn't on? While the disrespect continues, I'm steady packing these venues. Guess if you ain't at the table, you on the menu. And I'm that spitter, baby. They don't want you to see, but everybody's south of Capitol Hill's rocking with me. Boys smoke the trays and plan to getting their life together. I'm comfortable with my role, so I'm like, whatever. Me? I ain't got a job, but I work hard. And you don't work hard, but you got a job. The irony is I'm judged while you feel the applause. I'm slept on, that's why I had to set this alarm. My dudes is armed, I'm armed with this arm charm. Body banging like she got that cream from Barry Bonds. Yeah.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
That Dre season is here, a real hitter with a mic, I'm everything that they fear. With that hood ain't the same, I was all on their ass, I'm level-headed. So yo, my dudes love when I spaz, and I'm so over Seattle's passive-aggressive attitude. They don't call you back, what they really saying is F you. While I'm from the same place, I move at a different pace. I prefer if you just said it to my face, damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Average dudes with they average spit, writing average rhymes, knocking average chicks. The closer I get, I can feel the people starting to shift. I'm loyal to a fault, and everybody can't come with. Rap's a rich man's game, I'm only playing with change. They bang models and singers, I'm knocking my own flame, I'm different. The crowd, I move with the chosen few. Black thoughts, I could be the front man for the roots. No diamonds and gold, I'm on my sticks and stones. If we can see your panty line, you should have on a thong. My team is strong, through this fire we forged a bond. And they already know what it is when I get on to the hearse. Party like it's December 31st. When I'm on my deathbed, I probably cracking my nurse. You ain't got the bars to compete. I'm a verbal athlete, deflating these boys so they say that I cheat. Damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Yeah. I should probably start by apologizing for the long wait, man. You know, I know I be tripping. But I'm not just a rapper, I'm an artist. And, you know, my creative process is a little bit different than most. Nonetheless, I want to welcome everybody out to the Dre's Experience. I got TCF in the building. My whole camp's here with me. I got the band in here laying this cool-ass vibe. And I'm Seattle's own. Let's get into it.
Grand Rising and good morning, everybody out there. Happy Monday to you. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I'm your co-host, Trey Holiday, and we got a great show with some amazing guests today, jam-packed with some information for you guys to take in and actually do something about it. We're going to go ahead and start always with my co-host with the most, Big O. What up, Big O?
Yo, Trey Holiday, how are you?
I am well, my friend. How are you doing this Monday morning?
Tell you, of all, you know, you come to the set always looking so fly. Of all the flyest things you ever wear, it's always the Converse sweatshirt that just pops out to me.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
You know, I said we rep our brand. You know, I'm with it.
No, we rep it hard, man. We got it. Today's Monday.
Yeah,
hot dog.
Right.
Man, we got a busy week to this week, but also here today we've got Brad Finegood. And, you know, it's an interesting conversation. I met Brad because I was actually talking to Derek Wheeler-Smith over at Public Health, ZYD, and he was talking about fentanyl and what's going on here in the streets. And he's like, you know, Derek Wheeler-Smith's like, hey, I got a guy. He's the fentanyl guy. But apparently Brad Finegood does more than just be the fentanyl guy over at Public Health, Seattle, King County. But on a serious note, it's a real serious epidemic that's happening with overdoses here in Seattle and King County. And I wanted to talk to Brad on a few different angles around that issue. So we'll be talking to him. And we've got Katrina Johnson. People might recognize that name. Unfortunately, you know, that's the cousin of Charlene Laus. Say her name. Yeah. And so, man, they've been doing some work there with the Washington Coalition for Police Accountability, and also Enoka Herat, who is a lawyer with the ACLU. You'll be talking to both of them, because apparently down in Olympia, there's the bills, and I think everybody knew some things might need to be adjusted or fixed. But they're saying is people are trying to pull a fast one down there. So we'll get an update from Katrina.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to, diving in with them. I mean, this is something that we have to keep our fingers on the pulse of. Oftentimes these things kind of slip through the cracks without community noticing. And so I'm glad that Katrina and Enoka are here today to dive in.
All right, so a few things. I'm already running late, but let me get through it here. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I want to remind you that right now, yes, right now, is the perfect time for you to tag and share the stream. Tag and share the stream with people you feel would appreciate culturally relevant news and information emanating from right here in the Emerald City. Want to give a big shout out to our partners over at the South Seattle Emerald, and also KBCS 91.3 over at Bellevue College. You can catch the Morning Update Show anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. That's Google, Spotify, iTunes, man, everywhere else. Google, well, I said Google, huh?
Yeah, SoundCloud.
SoundCloud, there it is. All you got to do is search Converge Media Network. Also, at this time here, and we've been doing this for months, by the way, this is the time of the show where we put up the link from Public Health Seattle, King County. If you need to get vaccinated, if you need a booster shot, man, if you need testing information, or if you're vaccine hesitant, as a lot of people are, man, this thing is fast moving. You know what I'm saying? Click that link right there in the comments that Salman just put, and the people over at Public Health Seattle, King County, you know what I'm saying? They'll look out for you. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, this is, a part of everybody trying to get informed right now. We keep talking about this because it is still here, alive and well with us. So, man, click that link if you need the information. And we always like to also remind you guys, if you're homebound or you still don't feel comfortable kind of coming outside, a lot of sickness out there, they actually can also come to your home. So click it out, click that link and check it out.
All right, this real quick because the PSA is in the show. But For Culture, they got the bag for you. All you cultural producers out there, $1,000 to $12,000 For Culture. The deadline is coming up, though, man. Make sure and get that in. Salman is putting the link there in the comments as well. Cultural producers, we know a lot of them. You know what I'm saying? For Culture is being super intentional about it.
Yeah, this is something that I love so much. And you guys hear me say it all the time when we bring this up, because we need our cultural producers, honestly. And there's probably somebody and you didn't even think of them as a cultural producer because it's so wide ranging. But really, we need them.
All right, curveball right here. Don't have a graphic, but throw it out there. But we do have the link in the comments. Romeo and Juliet. The Pacific Northwest Ballet, McCall Hall, that's coming up. I think it starts February 4th. Yeah. We all went to the Nutcracker. It was Converge night at the Nutcracker. It was Converge night at Romeo and Juliet. Who you going with?
You asked me this last time. I told you I don't have nobody I'm going with. Am I going with you?
It's possible.
Okay.
Let's go together. Romeo and Juliet, Pacific Northwest Ballet. Link is there in the comments. And man, I had to throw this in, and I know me and the big fella are gonna have to go up there and talk to these guys. Of course, you're more than welcome to. Maybe we'll pull in Justin Carter. We put this up here. Oh no, say it ain't so. Petty Rosso, man, they're calling it quits up there on Capitol Hill. And man, Petty Rosso, I remember during Seattle protests, man, going over, it was no sleep. We go over there, Petty Rosso, they hook up a special coffee, and we'd be back out there. And yeah, they're citing a lot of things, but the biggest thing they're citing, man, is development, the redevelopment of their building and everything else, man. The sisters have been holding it down for 10 years. Petty Rosso's getting ready to call it quits. Oh, and by the way, that article is there in the Capitol Hill Seattle blog. Can you believe it?
Oh, not Petty Rosso. Honestly,
Grab brought out here. I told you it was going to depress him.
No, because it's real. I mean, this is a place that, not just while we were in Capitol Hill, but it's a place I frequent often, and their love and care for community is clear. These are the kind of spots, that Vanishing Seattle covers when these kind of things happen, because you close down a cultural hub. It's like, man, it has major impacts in the community.
Well, Vanishing Seattle definitely just did cover it. So the Capitol Hill Seattle blog. And like I said, I'm sure you down to go up there, grab Rod? Yeah, see, he's already on his way. Well, I'm going to tag along with you. The people at Petty Rosso showed infinite kindness when not only just me and Jake and Converge, but when so many people on the Hill needed it most.
Yeah.
You know, I got the memory of an elephant for people who are kind. And so, you know what I'm saying, we're going to make sure and go up to Petty Rosso and holler at them. I've got one more thing here. Actually, I don't see it in here. I forgot to put it in here, but it's a clip there, and I'll get to it in a second, Salman. It says Rev Walden. See it? All the way on the bottom, probably, for video. So anyways, okay, hold tight. So anyways, I know that they're interviewing Katrina today. And, you know, it was real interesting that, you know, I was there at the press conference when they made the settlement announcement. And Katrina was out of town. I think we were connected via Zoom. There's lots of media there. The lawyers were there and everything else. And, you know, I got some feedback from quite a few journalists in the city. I brought this up the other day. It was like, you know, it was kind of real unprofessional because, you know, I had tears in my eyes. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? There at that press conference. And it's like, well, you know, this guy is not maybe a real journalist. He's so emotional and all this other stuff and everything else. And I don't think people realize that whether you knew Charlena or didn't, in our community, Charlena was our sister, our cousin. I got this clip right here. This was back in August when we first opened the studio here, and I had no idea this response was going to come from my mom. There was a picture of my mom that was in Mohai, and it was taken at a city council meeting right after Charlena was murdered by the Seattle Police Department. And, you know, I'm just looking at it as the picture, but you'll see my mom's response here, and we'll talk about it right after it.
So this is off the wall at Mohai.
Oh, yes.
And it's not a replication. This is your original piece from the Museum of History and Industry.
Thank you. Wow, that's after
original.
Charlena.
Yeah. So that's the
Charlena
original
Lyles.
right there.
Yeah.
From off the wall. So it's not a replication. That's the actual original that was there in the museum.
Well, thank you. Wow, thank you, Charlena. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Mom.
Yeah. We all took it hard. Charlena, she was like our daughter. 97 pounds, and the police couldn't figure out how not to kill her. 97. And then when the inquest come out, you're gonna find out that she was trying to get away. She was trying to get away, trying to get to her babies like mamas do. Yeah. This was a privileged night. They let the black women speak first. Black women got to have their say. Yeah. She was our daughter. 97 pounds. And they could not figure how not to kill her. Wow. Women ain't been right in this town since. She would be my granddaughter. Remember my grandkids. Or my great-grandkids. You know that? Thank you. Thank you so much for this.
You're welcome, Mom.
We always will love Charlena Lyles. Never seen her. Didn't know her before. It didn't matter. 97 pounds. They couldn't figure out how not to kill her. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Love you, Mom.
Love you too. Love us forever. We can love people we never seen. Charlena. Didn't know her. Boy, we love her. Love is a mighty, mighty thing, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mom.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm good. Thank you. Yeah.
We'll cut.
All right, so I played that clip right there because, you know, this is Converge is always first and foremost, we serve our community, and everybody else might be able to benefit from that.
you know, and my mama wasn't alone. And mamas and aunties and uncles who never met Charlena Lyles, who cried for years and uplifted Charlena's name. And, you know, if I might not ever, the best thing is we ain't starting none of this to go and be in one of them fancy clubs or be around the table with distinguished journalists and funny awards. All we wanted to do was make Big Mama and them proud and be able to deliver the news to them. So, you know, if I'm not accepted in that circle, it's okay, because I know our neighborhood and our community will always accept it. And you know what? Yeah, I was emotional. And you know what? I'll continue to say her name, Charlena Lyles.
Yeah, come on. You're so right about that. We'll continue to say her name, Charlena Lyles. And I'm really thankful that her cousin has just stepped up in such a mighty way with regard to new legislation and policy for the state. I'm excited that I get to dive into that with her, but we talk about this all the time. The reason why we have independent media, and this is the Black Media Matters Studio. And let me just say that we are connected to these stories that come out of our community, whether we know these folks or grew up with them or not. There's always like a 1 or 2 degree separation. Somebody I know who knew Charlena. That's how it works in our community. Oftentimes, you know, we have people like Omari's mom and others and the elders that step up to be there for all of these folks, because honestly, we are a tight-knit community. And no matter if we know these people or, you know, we have these close ties, or if they're like a part of our actual blood family, man, family runs deep. And for me, when your mom really sat there and gave us her reaction to that, I tell you, man, it was another indicator of how deeply we love our people. It was
so unexpected.
Period.
We had no idea what. For me, it was just a picture of her that was in Mohai in the collection. And she said, "No, you know, that night." I'll put it like this: I said, my mama, to this day, still cry about Charlena Lyles, who she never met, and it's okay if I still shed tears about Charlena Lyles, who I never met. And I'm not going to apologize to being in anybody's fancy club or whatever, because y'all know I be sitting out here breaking these stories wide damn open while y'all sitting at home anyway. On that note, we got a handcrafted motion graphic here. It looks like there he is, Brad Finegood. Man, from Public Health, Seattle, King County. We're going to get into the nitty gritty of what's going on with fentanyl here in the streets of Seattle, King County. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Hey guys, Besa Gordon here, and before heading to Belize, Trey Holiday and I had to make sure we linked up with our good friends over at Market Street Shoes to, of course, grab a few things for the trip. From bags to socks, shoes, sunglasses, earrings, and more. Before going on any trip, make sure you stop at Market Street Shoes. Trust me, you'll find just what you need to make your trip not only enjoyable, but fashionable.
Many years ago, the young Romanov princess went missing. Now, a woman has appeared with no name and no past, but with the drive to discover her destiny. Her past is a mystery. Her future is an adventure. Anastasia, the Broadway musical.
Playing the Paramount Theater January 25th through 30th. Tickets at stgpresents.org.
Hey y'all, T-Dub here, letting you know about another art funding opportunity. For Culture Recovery funding for individuals is available now, and here's what you need to know to apply. Are you a cultural producer who has been impacted by the pandemic? If you answered yes, but what is a cultural producer? Well, you are a cultural producer if your work, paid or unpaid, is dedicated to creating cultural experiences in any discipline or at any stage of your career. Some examples include exhibit designers, museums educations, archivists, restoration professionals, curators, history researchers, artists, of course, and more. And understanding that grant language can sometimes feel exclusive to specific people, using terms like cultural producer is one of the ways For Culture seeks to broaden its scope of applicants. In other words, this funding is for you. And look, the application fatigue is real. I get it, they get it. But the For Culture staff is here to walk you through it. They have grants from $1,000 to $12,000, so please don't miss out. The deadline to apply is Wednesday, February 2nd. Head to forculture.org/recovery to get information on virtual group workshops, application support, language translation, and more.
We invite you to be our guest at Disney's Beauty and the Beast. It's a tale as old as time in a brand new production by the Fifth Avenue Theater. Return to the magic of live theater with one of the most enchanting musicals of all time. Disney's Beauty and the Beast at the Fifth, January 12th to February 6th. Tickets at fifthavenue.org.
Something to say, you know what I'm saying? Like they catch me right here. I want to listen to my musical cues. All right, well, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury. I'm joined right now on the set here in the Black Media Matters studio by Brad Finegood, Public Health, Seattle, King County. How are you?
Good. Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Don't let all this flashy stuff distract you, by the way. So like
I ain't used to the big lights and stuff, you know.
You know, we trying. On a serious note though, man, of all the stuff that I talk to public health about, because we're in constant conversation at different things, the most blunt communication that I've really seen is around this issue of fentanyl. And so what I'd like you to do is maybe tell people briefly what you do for public health and then what's going on with fentanyl here in King County.
Yeah, thanks. So thanks for having me again. I mean, it's so important to be able to get the message out about what's going on in the community because people are dying at record paces. It's super duper scary when you look at the numbers. You know, first of all, let me say thank you to you for being human and sharing yourself in that last segment, showing that video with you and your mom. For me, overdose is a super personal issue for me too. My brother died of a drug overdose, and that clip of watching you with your mom brought me back to when my brother died of a drug overdose and the conversations with my parents right after they lost their kid and just the heartbreak. And so it's so important for us when we talk about people struggling out there with drugs and substance use and all that type of stuff to remember that these are people's children, that these are people's siblings, and these are people's loved ones, you know? And so, yeah, so my name is Brad Finegood, and I work for Public Health, Seattle, King County. I truly feel like it's an honor to go to work every day. My job is to address the overdose crisis that's happening in the community, to get the word out, to look at what are the interventions that work, that save people's lives, and to be able to maximize those in our community. Yeah.
And what exactly? So for somebody who's not really hip on what it's looking like out there, what's going on in the community?
Yeah, so fentanyl is the big game changer for us. So fentanyl is a super duper powerful opioid. So other examples of opioids that people get are pain medication that they get from their doctor or from the hospital. Heroin is a different opioid. Fentanyl as a drug is 50 to 100 times more powerful than heroin is, right? So it's a super duper powerful synthetic opioid. Here's the catch. Fentanyl, if you go to a doctor and you get fentanyl, you're going to get it in a patch or you can get it some other way, and it's very, very, very controlled. What we're seeing is fentanyl that's coming into our community in the form of counterfeit blue pills. They call them blues or perks. So yeah, they look exactly like that on the screen, right? They have an M on them and then a 30. So they look exactly like a medication that you would get from a doctor's office. So when we first saw this starting to come into our community a couple of years ago, like people didn't know. So they were buying it. Often maybe they were cut off their pain medication or they were trying to experiment with drugs and they would get these and they were dying. Lots of young kids dying. And then what we saw is that there's just a huge influx of these pills in our community. So in 2015, there were about 3 fentanyl overdoses in our whole county. This past year, there's over 350 in 2021. So people are dying at record paces.
350?
350 community members, our King County community members. And what's continuing to raise the concerns is it's hitting hard in communities of color, right? Black folks the rate of increase of overdose death from Black folks, from Native folks, from Latinx folks continues to rise, right? And so we need to do more about getting the message out about the awareness of this, because when people come across these blue pills, think that they might be real. In past days, you know, maybe that's something people would experiment with. Down the line, maybe they would develop some type of like opiate addiction or something like that. But now the lethality risk is so high that people would take them and they die. In addition, what we're finding out more and more is that the heroin available in our community is less and less and less, and it's being replaced by these counterfeit pills because it sort of does the same thing in the brain for people, but it raises the lethality risk tremendously. And so we see a lot of new people who are new to drug use dying in that experimental phase, but we also have seen a lot of people who have weathered the storm for a lot of their life, and they're using these pills now as a different opioid, and they're dying.
And man, as usual, disproportionately impacted. But with this, there's a lot of different ways that people are entering this. You got some people addiction by prescription, you know what I'm saying, who got a pain pill and got addicted and they stopped on the pain pill. You got some people who are just in a drug culture who are trying to experiment. You got some people who are looking, you know, maybe you can talk about just the different ways that you're seeing that people, clearly it's the same end result, but how are people getting hooked on fentanyl, either knowingly or unknowingly?
Yeah, it's a good question. We've done some like qualitative work out there with the community, and especially with young people, asking them, what do you think you're getting into? And people often think that like because it's in a pill, it's safer. And we actually know that because it's in a pill and what's in the pill, that it's a lot more unsafe, right? The lethality risk, the risk of dying and death goes up tremendously, especially for new people experimenting. They trust their friends, right? We also hear that people trust the people that they're getting their substances from, that it's legit, that it won't hurt them, all that type of stuff. And we also know that people are developing habits faster, right? People are moving towards addiction quicker because it's such a powerful drug. But the good news, is that there's things that we can do, right? There's things that help, that we know that can save people's lives, keep people around if they are using, and that there's treatments that are super duper effective for people who are really having trouble stopping.
Yeah, and some of the communication that public health has been very blunt about that. I think one of the things that caught my attention is I saw something clearly towards people who are using one way or another. It said, don't use alone, use with a friend, have narc. I mean, it was like a play-by-play list here of basically how to get high.
Yeah, well, we don't think of it as a play-by-play list of how to get high. It's an understanding that people who are using drugs are at super duper high risk, right? And, you know, the days of the Puritan just saying no are gone because they were ineffective, right? If I'm like, just don't do that, and that was my only response, like, all the people who are doing that are going to look at me like, get the hell out. This is the problem with this has been part of the historical problem with our system, is that the way that we look at people who are using substances, right? These are human beings.
All right, so two things there. One, we got there's the video, the laced video. Let's play a video here that you had sent over.
That's Miles. I hate how they blame him for ODing, like it's his fault or something. But they don't realize laced pills are just everywhere. We always got the same guy, so we thought we were safe. It could have been him or me or anyone else at that party.
In 2020, King County saw 176 fentanyl-related overdose deaths, which is more than ever before. Learn more at lacedandlethal.com.
I mean, yeah, it's even with the communications here, it's very straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, our Laced and Lethal campaign is really what we've used to get out to the community, to let people know what's going on, but in a very realistic way to say that there's something you can do, right?
I was going to say this too, as well, is that it's an interesting conversation when you talk about addiction, no matter what drug it is when you talk about addiction, that I read a lot of the comments. I gotta stop because it's traumatizing on some stuff.
It sure is.
But it's a lot of people, and I won't just say white people, but it's a lot of people of means whose children are addicted, but the safety net is there. And so we almost get this finger pointing over there. Oh, look at this over in King County, all these drug addicts, all this and that. Because in other parts, then people are able to put them kids on their insurance and send them over to somewhere for X, Y, and Z. And we get a lot of people over here on our side in our community where there is no safety net. But, you know, it's almost like that funny hidden little secret in a lot of cities over here, you know, where the kids is gone for a few months and they say that they just visiting relatives, but they was really in rehab and now they're able to regain part of society. But our community, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you feel where I'm going with that?
Yeah. And I mean, you know, the other thing that we know from years and years of research and experience is that the trauma is real, right? People experience trauma, whether that's, you know, individual trauma, whether that's societal trauma, and that trauma is real and people have trouble coping with that. And often people use substances to escape from that trauma because that pain does not feel good, right? But the other thing we know, and you were talking about this, is we have an amazing safety net system here, right? We always have to do better to bring better services that we know work. But if somebody needs Narcan or naloxone, right, to be able to reverse an overdose, if they know somebody's using, right? Like if you and I were spending time together, I know you're using opioids, whatever, fentanyl, heroin, whatever. It doesn't mean I'm going to love you any less. It just means I love you more and I want to keep you alive, right? And that there's medications out there to help people who are really struggling to get off. People just need to ask for help, right? Like, and that's a hard thing to do. But it's also important for people's, you know, support system to understand what they can do. Because when we went out and talked to people, they know people know people who are using drugs and they just want to help and keep them alive.
I'll be honest with you. I know we're up against the clock here, but another reason why I wanted to make sure that we connected is that, you know, 1 degree separation away, I know 3-4 people who've overdosed and died, you know. And I remember in our conversation we were having before, I was like, yo, there was even some telltale signs, you know, it was just knocked out for hours in the car and everybody thinks it's funny. You know what I'm saying? It's sitting there passed out, drooling or something. You know, it's like, yo, something's really going on here. And I see it happening, you know, all around. Let me ask you this, because I already can tell. One, can you promise us this, that you're going to reoccur over here? Because I think you have so much to talk about, and I would love if you could continuously come back and update us.
I'd come back every day if you let me, my friend.
Because we'll have to ask Director Salman. Two, I'd really want you to look into this camera right here, and you can let people know, because we're going to clip this out and put this out there for you and do our part for public health. Let people know what services you have, what health and everything public health is offering.
Yeah, thanks. So a couple places that people can go to get help, right? kingcounty.gov/overdose, right? People can access all the services that they need to from there. People can get data and information about what to do, identifying the signs of overdose, all that type of stuff. The other place that I want to let people know about is lacedandlethal.com. Just like it sounds, lacedandlethal.com. People can go to access naloxone, find out where to get treatment, and get access to services and information that they need. Because, you know, I talked to a dad the other day, just like you were saying, and that dad did not understand that, like, their kid was using substances that was highly lethal. The steps and actions that he was taking, he thought that he was leading with love, and he was leading with love, but that, you know, if you don't identify and recognize what an overdose looks like, have somebody go back to sleep. That's what happened with my brother. The person who was with him didn't even recognize what could be done, let him go back to sleep, and he didn't wake up 3 hours later. So get educated, understand, and know that there's resources out there to help people.
All right, Brad Finegood. I'm talking to Director Salman. I don't know if we can do every day, but we definitely going to get you on here a lot. Thank you for taking time.
Hey, thank you all for having me today.
All right, we're going to take a quick break right now. When we come back, we're clearing the set. You're going to get Trey Holiday with Katrina Johnson. And also, we got one more. We got another motion graphic. Oh, it's not. I'm sorry. What Katrina's coming here in studio. Gonna be here with Trey Holiday, and then we have Enoka Herat from the ACLU is gonna be on the video link. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Hey guys, Besa Gordon here with some much needed information about what's happening in our communities when it comes to COVID-19 in 2022. Omicron is actually the latest COVID-19 variant and honestly is hitting our local communities and hospitals pretty hard. You can help out by 1, making sure you are vaccinated, 2, making sure you have your booster, and 3, simply masking up. As we learn more about COVID-19, we're also learning more about how the vaccine works best. A booster shot 2 to 5 months after your COVID-19 vaccine significantly improves protection against COVID and its many variants. If you need a COVID-19 vaccine or a booster, there are free options for transportation and childcare that are available. To learn more about all of your options and where you can get your booster shot, go to kingcounty.gov/COVID/vaccine.
We invite you to be our guest at Disney's Beauty and the Beast. It's a tale as old as time in a brand new production by the Fifth Avenue Theater. Return to the magic of live theater with one of the most enchanting musicals of all time. Disney's Beauty and the Beast at the Fifth, January 12th to February 6th. Tickets at fifthavenue.org.
Many years ago, the young Romanov princess went missing. Now, a woman has appeared with no name and no past, but with the drive to discover her destiny. Her past is a mystery. Her future is an adventure. Anastasia, the Broadway musical.
Playing the Paramount Theater January 25th through 30th. Tickets at stgpresents.org.
Hey y'all, T-Dub here, letting you know about another art funding opportunity. For culture recovery funding for individuals is available now, and here's what you need to know to apply. Are you a cultural producer who has been impacted by the pandemic? If you answered yes, but what is a cultural producer? Well, you are a cultural producer if your work, paid or unpaid, is dedicated to creating cultural experiences in any discipline or at any stage of your career. Some examples include exhibit designers, museums educations, archivists, restoration professionals, curators, history researchers, artists, of course, and more. And understanding that grant language can sometimes feel exclusive to specific people, using terms like cultural producer is one of the ways For Culture seeks to broaden its scope of applicants. In other words, this funding is for you. And look, the application fatigue is real. I get it, they get it. But the For Culture staff is here to walk you through it. They have grants from $1,000 to $12,000, so please don't miss out. The deadline to apply is Wednesday, February 2nd. Head to forculture.org/recovery to get information on virtual group workshops, application support, language translation, and more.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Morning Update Show. I'm your co-host, Trey Holiday, and joining me right now is Katrina Johnson and Enoka Herat. I'm so glad that you guys could be on with us. We're going to go ahead and bring Enoka in as well. Hi.
Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I mean, we were talking a little bit. I mean, you've been doing a phenomenal job. I'm sure Charlena is just looking down with love about all the work that you have done to keep holding our elected officials accountable and to continue to press. You're here to tell us about 2 bills we all need to be mindful of. I want you to be able to dive right in.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me here this morning. Unfortunately, after all that great legislation and those police reform bills that we got passed last year, we have 2 bills, 2037 and House Bill 1788, that are really taking us back. And it's doing a real disservice to all the work that our community put forth last year, all that protesting, everybody out there in the streets wanting change, meaningful change for our community, is getting ready to be eroded by these two bills. And I don't think the community really understands what's at stake right now.
You know, this is exactly what I'm saying. This kind of stuff happens all the time where it's like, let's introduce something, try to have it slip through the cracks. I'll come to you, Enoka. I mean, what are some of the things that people really need to be mindful of when it comes to House Bill 2037?
2037 is really dangerous. It would allow officers to use physical force on someone who's fleeing from a stop. And these stops are, stop and frisk, Terry stops. They're based on the lowest level of evidence connecting someone to wrongdoing. And we know that there's a lot of discretion there already with officers, and that officers abuse that discretion, and so that it exposes people to harm. And the idea that it hinges on flight, again, we know who's going to be harmed by that. Who flees and why do they flee? Young people, people of color, who are scared and who have a distrust in police. And that distrust doesn't come from nowhere. We know, I mean, the data shows that there is more discrimination against people of color in who police are stopping and in use of force. And so this would allow for more discretion in that space. And so we know that this is going to harm young people and people of color. We're really concerned.
Here we go. And my thing is too, is that in reading the bill, there's always this kind of generic language that then if we don't dissect that language, we know that it's going to negatively impact our communities. How have you guys been able to actually see that, hey, if we allow this to pass, this is how it's going to affect us?
So what's going to happen specifically with 2037 is, last year we, with 1310, we made it harder for them to just go in and just be pulling us over and doing all these things. You needed to have probable cause. You needed to be sure about what you were doing. Well, now, after, this fear campaign that the, law enforcement has put on throughout the summer, it has made legislators want to digress, right? And go back to reasonable suspicion. Well, reasonable suspicion means what? More racial profiling that's going to take place, and it's going to really affect Black and brown people like you and me, our sons, our daughters, our moms, our dads, our uncles, and we can't allow that to happen. We have to have law enforcement held to a higher standard. And the reality bears that because they have been being held to this high standard, that lives have been saved this year. There has been less police use of deadly force in Washington state than there ever has been before. So why should we go back?
Yeah, I mean, this is a good question right there that you raised, Katrina. And, my thing has always been like, okay, well, look, we're talking about is really holding police accountable. So much of the language is really revolved around that. And it feels like it's been so hard to just get that through. You're right about us being able to save lives. So tell us how this kind of plays into House Bill 1788, Enoka.
Well, House Bill 1788 is also really harmful, and that is on the roads. And what it would do is it would allow officers to engage in a hot pursuit or a vehicle chase, like you see in the movies, on any crime, and so it's this hugely expansive use of force again. And we know that these vehicle pursuits are inherently dangerous, not just to the person they're chasing and the officer, but also to pedestrians and drivers. And the data bears that out. I mean, after police shootings, vehicle pursuits are the second leading cause of police killings in Washington. And of those, about 60% are of just bystanders and, people uninvolved entirely who just happen to be on the roads that day. So it's really dangerous. It puts everyone at risk. And again, to open up that discretion to any crime, it's not worth it, and it's just allowing officers to use more force and to harm people.
Oh my gosh, you guys are enlightening me today because these are two bills I didn't have on my radar. So again, I think it's important that our community get engaged and involved. And one of the things that we really have seen work is collective voice. And how are you guys being intentional to make sure you guys are clearly here, but I know there's so much work behind the scenes that you guys are doing to say, man, we got to push against these two bills. What is some of that work?
So the Washington Coalition for Police Accountability has been doing a weekly podcast to inform the community on what's going on. We've also, WCPA is led by impacted family members, who have lost their loved ones. And what we're seeing right now is we're seeing legislators take politics. They're playing politics over policy right now, and they're not really listening to impacted families right now. And we are the experts of our experience, right? And so we're not just trying to do this because we want what we want. Our loved ones are already gone. They're dead. We can't bring them back. We want to save other folks in the community. The preservation of life and human rights is of utmost importance to all, should be to everybody, the sanctity of life. And that is why we do what we do. And we just need other people to join in the community and vote no on these two bills, and to continue to follow us and hold your legislators accountable for what they're doing and what they're not doing. It's not enough to go out there and want to change bills because of what happened to George Floyd, because we still have Charlena, we still have Giovanni McDade, we still have Manny Ellis right here in our own community. And to go and make those changes last year and to promise families, meaningful change, to dial those back this year is unacceptable.
No, it really is. And one of the things that we have talked about in terms of the approach as we move forward is centering the voices of the most impacted people. When we're talking about new laws, new legislation, this is one of those things for me where it's almost a no-brainer. But I got to say too, I talked a little bit about the generic language. And Enoka, I want to come to you here, because when you just read the summary a bit of House Bill 2037, that's where they confuse people, is using generic language, right? It's like, oh, we just want to make sure that any student who is, mentally ill is going to be this and that. They make it very generic. How do we make sure that people are able to read between the lines of that generic language, that maybe it seems like this bill would be for the good, and people are like, oh, well, as I read this, I don't see where it's negative. How do we make sure that people are reading between the lines of that generic language?
Yeah, I would point to the Washington Coalition for Police Accountability. They've done an excellent job of informing supporters weekly about the impacts of these bills, and we're doing analyses of these and hearing from impacted people. Like as I mentioned, 2037 really hinges on flight, and we know. We work with the family members of people who've been of people who were shot fleeing from police, whether that was Kevin Peterson Jr. in Vancouver or Benny Branch. And working with those family members to push for change and let people know that these bills are dangerous.
Yeah, this is important. And, people will surmise why people flee from the police. We understand that there's a history here. But Katrina, tell us a little bit about why people actually flee from police.
Well, when you take in the historical, things to begin with, our community has always been over policed. It's never been an officer friendly situation for us. And so anytime those lights come on, I'm licensed, insured, and everything, and my heart still starts racing, right? Because I don't know what that encounter is going to be like. I don't know if they're having a bad day, and I might not make it through it, even if I do comply with everything that they're saying. And so that is why we flee. We flee because we're scared, because we don't know what's going to happen on a routine traffic stop, or you want to just come walk up and talk to us and things like that. Those things are resulting across the nation in Black and brown people and indigenous people dying. Everyday routine encounters.
Everyday routine encounter. And you know what? You are so right, Katrina. We've seen it time and time and time again. Even when you try to do everything right, there still is that fear on the other side. It is something that we cannot deny at this point, which for me is why I understand you guys doing this work. And let me just say thank you to both of you and to everybody really involved in spreading the word about this so that we can understand what we can do in community. Enoka, last question for you here. I want to hear from your perspective with regard to they do a splitting up of the language, right? We see some things over here in 2037, we see other things over here in 1788, and I'm so glad that you guys have done the work to connect the two. How can community be more engaged in terms of understanding that it's not just one thing over here, it's a multitude of things happening, and sometimes they try to break it up as another tactic.
That is so true. And it is a lot to follow, and legislative session goes really quick. And so that's why we try to keep supporters up to date. We passed amazing laws last session, and there was a savings. I mean, police violence and police killings dropped in Washington state by 62% as compared to the year before and the year before that and the year before that. This is what happened was significant. And that means 30 lives were saved last year from police killing. And that is significant. And we got to fight for those wins and not let lawmakers roll them back with these kinds of bills.
Yeah, sometimes it's the data that really tells the story, and we know that on both sides. We see that, right? But clearly right here to say that 62% because of all this accountability and really pressure from community, like you said, Katrina, it was people out in the streets. Yes, it was like, man, George Floyd lost his life, and it just sparked something in so many people. But you talked about the lives right here, and that's why for us at Converge it's so important that we continue to say those names. I mean, this to me it's a no-brainer, but I'm coming to you now because we also know that when there's a short legislative session, we see our legislators try to really play it coy. Like they take the middle ground. They don't want to do anything that seems too bold because they know that it's going to be all this pushback. How do we deal with this, the politics of it all, as you talked about earlier, that we now have legislators playing that politics side?
For me, I think it boils down to integrity, right? We know that it's an election year. But if you are a politician, you have to mean what you say and say what you mean and just believe that your community is going to catch you, and I think that is what we should expect from them. And obviously, there is this pushback from law enforcement and all this, fear campaign that's going on, and our communities are not safe. But the data doesn't bear that out, right? In Seattle, I'm born and raised here. There's always been a certain amount of crime, and there always will be everywhere all over the nation. But here in Washington state, we can lead, and we should be leading instead of following and cowering to what everyone else is doing across the nation. And that's what our lawmakers need to see, is that they're leading the way and how to bridge that gap between police and community and bring about restoration. And that's what we need to do.
You're so right about it. And I mean, we've been talking about the rise in gun violence here, but we know that there is a root issue that needs to be dealt with. It isn't met with more policing, and that's going to solve the problem of the rise in gun violence. And I think people sometimes make a misnomer when we talk about, yes, across the nation, there is a rise in gun violence. It's not just happening here in Washington state. However, we understand that it's because root causes of that gun violence are not being met with real and sustainable solutions.
Right. Which is poverty, inequity, racism. We have to get to those underlying root causes to be able to really address the situation. And make no mistake about it, police violence is also part of gun violence. Yeah. So you don't get to escape that, as well. And I think people need to take that into account as well.
Well, I just appreciate you guys for enlightening me and our audience today. I'm now going to be following up with you guys for sure, trying to listen to those podcasts. I want you to look right in there and tell our audience and our community how they can stay engaged and involved in this effort and make sure that they are, informed and making informed decisions with regard to voting.
I think following up with the Washington Coalition for Police Accountability, looking at our live streams. But right now, I need everyone in our community to vote no, sign in con on House Bill 1788 and House Bill 2037 so that we can continue to move in the way in which we ought to be moving. We need to continue to lead, and that's what I need from community. We have to continue to stand up.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, wow. Enoka, let's bring Enoka back in. I want to make sure we say a proper goodbye. Really appreciate you and your insight today, everything that you've brought to this discussion. Thank you guys both for being here. This is so phenomenal that we have the opportunities to use independent Black-owned media to really shine a spotlight on these kind of issues, because otherwise they really slip through the cracks. So thank you guys both, man. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you
for having us.
Making the time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. This is something that's necessary, you all. And I want you guys to remember, I'm always saying, see yourself as part of the solution. We have the opportunity to utilize our voices on issues that really matter to us. And this is an issue that I know is important to all of you viewers out there, because we have a lot of people that put themselves on the front line during the protest movement to really hold police accountable. We have a lot of people that have already dealt with police brutality, abuse of power, all of the like, that makes us say, you know what? We don't need these two bills now to usher in more of that power. We do need to move in a way that we have seen with this 62% decrease in police gun violence and police deaths, police killings. For more than 50 years, we've been pressing for this. All before the civil rights era, they were saying, stop killing us, police. And here we are with the same issues. I encourage you guys to stay tuned and catch up with these guys here. She gave you the information, and honestly, just do the right thing. When you have the opportunity, make sure that you're involved and engaged in the civic process so that your voice can also wield collective power. Coming up after this break, I get to bring Big O back to the set so we can close out properly. Stay tuned, you guys. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
In the depths of Belize, the travelers come across the waters, harvesting with their hands, learning of resilience rooted deep in the lands. Culture thriving like a fire ablaze, sizzling with a pop and a chop, sharing its ways. Knowledge simmers and grinds into the hearts and minds, cutting away from the surface stories and colonial lies, boiling it down, breaking its shell as the truth pours out and gets plated collectively with love, spooned into bowls, feeding the soul. Garifuna, alive and strong at Palmetto Grove.
Many years ago, the young Romanov princess went missing. Now, a woman has appeared with no name and no past, but with the drive to discover her destiny. Her past is a mystery. Her future is an adventure. Anastasia, the Broadway musical.
Playing the Paramount Theater January 25th through 30th. Tickets at stgpresents.org.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Morning Update Show. I'm your co-host, Trey Holiday. Joining me right now is my co-host with the most, Big O. Man, Big O, amazing show today, man.
Nah, amazing, definitely. I hope people are getting everything out of it. Get the replays. We'll get it clipped out. Some of everything else.
Yeah,
so,
this was just powerful information that was shared. I'm really in awe today.
Yeah, no, good stuff. We gotta get ready to get out of here, but I see right there. I want to make sure I'm bringing this up. Is we saw the Anastasia ad right there. And you got the tickets for tomorrow night?
Yeah, I'm on. It's on,
Who
man.
are you going with?
Yeah.
I know I'd be in your business.
Oh, on live TV. You can ask me after.
Oh, okay. One of them situations. Yo, so this is really dope. Was it Kyla Stone?
Kyla Stone.
Kyla Stone. And Kyla Stone is Anastasia, right?
Yeah.
Look, we got an overlay right up here. Look at her.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Huh?
Oh my
and you got a chance. So you got a chance to talk to Kyla. And what's real dope about this clip is like you had asked her, like, how did you feel basically being a Black woman coming into this role, playing Anastasia. And this is what she said right here.
when I got the initial audition, of course, like 5-year-old me in the back of my mind was like, yeah, you can be a princess, you can be Anastasia. And like current me, I was like, hold on, can I actually do this? Am I right for this? Which is so interesting because I think as little kids we're fearless and we have no idea what society is like, what society's going to say. And then as we got further along into callbacks, I sort of went, oh no, I want this. I know I can do this. I know how much it's going to mean for the little 5-year-old who's sitting in the audience dreaming the same dream as me. And to get to have so many other people of color in the show with me and get to watch them soar and dance and experience joy, I think that that's so important for audience of all ages and all races and all creeds to see that there are people of color who can not be put in a box and get to experience joy and have all of these emotions. And I think of Christian, who plays my father and is the czar and gets to wear this beautiful white, just bejeweled costume and stand in his power as a Black man. And it's overwhelming and it's amazing and it's a gift.
A gift indeed, and a gift that the audience, I'm sure, will treasure. I'm so looking forward to this show.
Yo, you know what's so dope? Like I'm looking forward to it as well. You know what's so dope about that clip is that she didn't say it, and I don't want to assume it too much, but it's almost like for a second she had the imposter syndrome. But then 5-year-old Kayla came out and said, you know what? Kicked her in the butt and said, you supposed to be here. You supposed to be here on this stage and all of your grace and amazingness and everything else. You know, like I really like, it takes a lot to share that kind of stuff with people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we move in doubt. You know, when it really do be the little kid in us, we got to keep in contact with. Be like, man, hold up. Remember, you fearless. You know, I'm really excited to see her, the whole cast, tomorrow at Anastasia at the Paramount.
Yeah, me too. And honestly, interviewing her was a treasure. You know, for this to be her first national show, it's inspiring because you see
This is
that
her first national show.
Yeah, like you can push through and make it happen. And she was just like so overjoyed. So really, I'm excited to see her in all of her glory.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. And so the full interview, you get all the interview. This is why I be asking you who you be going with. You interview all the people, you get the good seats. You know what I'm saying? Like who was it? You was back there with Curtis Blow.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's take it all the way back to Curtis Blow. Right. Every Broadway show, you know what I'm saying? It's Trey Holiday. I don't know. Ain't nobody want to interview with me. But Anastasia playing there tomorrow. And, you know, I mean, really, really happy to be a part of that. Broadway across America, Broadway at the Paramount,
Yeah.
STG presents.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great partnership. Shout out to everybody over at STG for knowing that Black media matters and for bringing, you know, cast members right here for me to be able to interview them. It's a great partnership, really.
Yeah. Kyla Stone, like, yo, you doing it. Like, that's what I said. You go across all of our platforms, probably about 1 hour here after showtime, and you'll see that interview with Kyla Stone. And man, it was really dope. And she brings so much energy.
Right.
Yo. And then when you look at the pictures, I wish we would have put up all the overlays, all the different scenes. And anyways, I'm starting to sound like the fanboy over here. You know what I'm saying? Big time media professional. Remember I told you they said I got keep a journalist hat on.
Right.
All right. So, but we do. And on top of that, the news for you gets even better because tomorrow, you've got Portia Shaw.
Yeah,
Yes,
Shaw.
Portia plays Belle in Beauty and the Beast.
I mean, another iconic moment for a theater where we have these amazing Black women playing the main characters. It's the first time they've ever casted Belle as a Black woman. I'm telling you, man, Black women on the rise.
Of course, Black women stay on the rise. But okay. So you got Portia. And now look, this next guy right here, he done gave you like 2-3 awards. Who's this? Andre Franklin. You know what I'm saying? Brothers United in Leadership Development. Andre Franklin from Build will be here tomorrow. Looks like they got some money for community.
Oh man, Build is doing a fantastic job of staying connected to community and also providing resources and growing their platform. So I'm excited that our brother Dre will be here tomorrow.
All right. and a good friend of mine and a good friend of Converge, Simon Fox. There he is, Roosevelt Alumni for Racial Equity. Talking about them Rough Riders. Yeah, you know, you got to be a real special friend to be a Roosevelt Rough Rider and come in here to the studio. But man, Simon Fox, right in the middle of the protest, the chop, everything else. Simon he calls himself a videographer, but he has way more skills than that. And man, Simon showed up and volunteered and said, man, how can I do? In our very first videos about Converge, Simon made, you know, our like branding videos and everything else. He's working on a real cool project out there, the Roosevelt Alumni for Racial Equity. And man, they created a short film that's going to be released in a few days. He's going to come tomorrow and talk about it.
Well, look at us. We have a full show, obviously, tomorrow. I'm excited, man. This is, like you said, it's a jam-packed week.
All right, good stuff. We're overtime, Trey Holiday. Any last words before we get out of here?
Oh my gosh, I'm just inspired by Brad and Katrina today, and also Enoka. See yourself as part of the solution. Be inspired by the guests that we're bringing on here, because we're giving you guys a wide variety of ways that you can see yourself as a part of the solution. Here, Katrina was just saying, I graduated, I went to school to be a nurse, and here I am doing all of this policy work, and her life has been forever changed by her cousin's unfortunate death. You guys, please see yourself as a part of the solution. You don't need something major in your life to say, you know what, I can give a couple hours to doing something outside of myself to be a part of an amazing solution. Be inspired.
All right, let me get this camera right here. There we go. Before we go wide, I definitely want to say this, and I'm going to continue to say it. And man, however you want to categorize me, you do that. But I'll continue to say her name, Charlena Lyles. On that note, we're going to continue to leave you with a message of hope here. And that's the song that comes on these days now when we get out of here.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Shayna Shepherd. The song is Hope, recorded right here in the studio with director Salman. On that note, though, let me remind you, go forward in your purpose, go forward in your humanity. And until tomorrow at 11 a.m., peace.
What do I see through a lens of fear? 1,000 little steps to go. What do I fear after all these years? Lord knows I don't even know. I've been running on the edge of a sundial, sleeping in the shadow. I've been begging you to see me, then hiding beyond the unreachable. Looking out left on a right-hand turn, just trying to make a deal. A lazy shoes and love is a love that churn. That's the kind of food that heals. I've been searching for the end of an era, waiting to be ready. The world is bigger than a moment. Be steady, that's how you can feel it's real. But I feel naked in my new clothes, 'cause I got used to hiding the holes. This old world got new tricks and I'm in the thick of it. This I swear I'm already sick of it. At least I found the antidote. Oh. I know no one is a shadow. 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 No one is a shadow. 'cause I got used to hiding